We recently listened to 80 cellists in one day. It's the person who makes me drop my pencil and catches my attention. You don't need a whole lot of experience to win a job. You just need to play your part in the appropriate manner. I guess we're going to be talking about mindset and preparation for the important day. Competitions, auditions, even just performances, because I don't differentiate between them. I mean, I think that a performance is a performance, whether it's in somebody's living room for one other person, or if you are playing in the Olympic Stadium for 15,000 people in Seoul, Korea, South Korea. So I don't know. To me, I have the same level of self-awareness and concentration, and the location doesn't seem to matter. And the audience, it doesn't seem to matter. I know we all tend to get hung up when it comes to orchestra auditions, and whether we're a cellist or whatever instrument that you're auditioning for, there's that screen. And then we think of the people on the other side of the screen. What do they want? What do they want to hear? They must know what they want, what they're looking for. And the moment you start second guessing yourself, that's the beginning of the end. You can't allow that to happen. And I have served on a lot of audition committees. I've been on that other side of the screen. I've been the other person. And I can tell you this, we don't know what we want until we hear it. You don't need to second guess yourself, and you don't want to cater to what you think they might want. I think that's solid advice. And I tell everybody that. Whenever I'm on an audition committee and I'm listening and I have my notepad and my clicker and, I'll listen to some auditions and I'll start doodling, think of, new tattoo designs and all that. It's the person who makes me drop my pencil and catches my attention. And that person may not have played everything perfectly, with air quotes there, because there's no such thing anyway. There may be a bobbled note, there may be something, but there is an undeniable artistry and charisma and a concentration and effort to make every excerpt sound like that particular composer, and not just me playing that. The person playing that. They make an effort to make everything sound different. And those are just some examples of what grabs the committee. And I don't care what anybody says on that other side of the screen. It's like, we don't know what we want. We know when we hear it. So somebody was asking me about, discomfort on stage. Well, I remember when I was young, really young, like my preteen years, I was absolutely bulletproof until I had a memory slip in the Boccherini cello concerto. It was right here, right there. And I blanked out. And I still have the Betamax tape, and I can revisit it, and it's really not that big of a deal. But at that point, everything changed for me. And all of a sudden, it's as though, Almighty God said, "It's easy for you, Bobby. And now I'm going to just put this here and change your life forever." So it's not a terribly uncommon thing to have happen. But then I saw the crack cracks in my foundation, and I had to start filling those in. That discomfort that accompanies, whether it's from that source, if you have a memory slip and then your life is permanently changed from that point, or many of us can pinpoint an event or a certain age at which our consciousness became more technicolor than it was before, and things just got a little bit more difficult. Apparently, Antal Dorady, the famous Hungarian-American conductor who was music director of the Detroit Symphony years before I joined them, he was famous for his witty quotes, and he said, "If you want to be comfortable, be an archbishop." And we have to accept a certain degree of discomfort. I mean, after all, it does keep us on our toes, and we have to accept it and use it, learn to co-opt it or coexist with it and co-opt it as a fuel source, and be very organized in our minds. I might not have delved into this or chosen to delve into this idea before, but seeing a therapist is also, for me, it's been critical for my development, even very, very recently. And I urge everybody to find somebody to talk to on a regular basis, whether it's a therapist or somebody neutral, to just air your feelings, your woes, your your problems, to kind of wring out that dishcloth in your mind, in a way, and empty that. It does help, and it's like peeling away like layers of an onion, and there's always more to dig through. I always refer to my therapist as the greatest music teacher I ever had, and he doesn't know how to read a single note of music. So he has been, sorry for the pun, but instrumental in my most recent successes as a performer. And I feel like I've broken through into a different level on a personal note, because it doesn't happen so often at age 54 that you see these new plateaux in your playing. One's playing. I look at improvement in a way as like a big spiral staircase, and when you're young, it's almost like every day you're on a different step. It's like the enthusiasm and I'm getting better and this is fun. It's turning into a game and I just love this. It gives me goosebumps. It's fun. I'm getting a good amount of attention from it. And day after day after day, week after week, it's like we're climbing up this ladder or stair. For me, I envisioned this like old-fashioned wrought iron staircase, spiral staircase, to God knows where. But at a certain point, those steps get taller and longer, and much taller and much longer. So I reached a certain point in my 20s where I stopped improving, or I thought, this is it, I'm done. But that's the point where you need to double down and really start digging and looking, not from without, but from within. You have to look inward and dig inside yourself, because it's all there, ready to be mined. I look at this as like prying the lid off something that's really difficult to pry off, but you have to do that. It takes a lot of work up here and a lot of faith that you have hidden treasures inside yourself that you haven't uncovered yet. Over the past few years, many musicians have asked me for help, and not just cellists. I've gotten woodwind players, brass players, even singers have come to me, mainly string players, and I'm happy to help people get into the right mindset before taking a big audition. And one thing that we all have to realize is that it's not just the local preparation that we've done for an audition. Like, you get an audition list. I'm just speaking from a string player's perspective. We get an audition list, we see it. It's like, okay, this is a little bit daunting. I can do this. And then you're behind the eight ball because we have so much stuff to do. We have a life to live. And you have to be very, very hungry for that success in order to prepare for an audition on a local level. When I'm talking about local, I mean the list that you're handed. On a global level, on your global perspective, you've been preparing for this your whole lives. And that's the important foundation of what is there. You cannot neglect that. You have to remember that, I'm damn good. I'm basically already ready for this audition. I just need to get organized up here. And it's 100% mental. Too often I hear Mozart sounding like Tchaikovsky, sounding like their Bach, sounding like this, that, and the other. You have to make an effort and dig deeply within yourself to get those results. For me, often I will hearken back to other times in my life where I've had great success, where I felt the best when I've finished a performance, or in the middle of a performance, when I can sense a very, very special energy. Like those 4 or 5 occasions in my life, I think of what was the common thread that was there. And at some point, I was in this wonderful emotional landscape where I felt safe and protected and able to allow myself to do my best. Because sometimes we get into a situation where you just don't allow yourself to open up and do your best. And that's a very frustrating state. And often we practice that and we do that and we hammer that nail in ever deeper every time. And again, that's why working with a therapist, I think, is a very useful tool. Whether it's 3 months before, a month before, 2 weeks before, a day before, I can't say what to do. I can't prescribe a sort of regimen because I am not traditionally the most regimented and disciplined person in sort of orthodox ways. I mean, I do it my own way. My path is a little weird, and I think everybody has their paths. This is also related to climbing your own hill, your own mountain. If somebody, we've been told, a few months out, you need to do this, 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 and this. It's like, okay, well, we're going to follow that recipe and Applebee's wall there. Okay, I'm going to do this. It's not necessarily going to work as beautifully for you as it's going to work for that person. I think if you have some experience and you know yourself, you know your tendencies, and you know your weaknesses, as long as you are focusing on your weaknesses and you can practice getting into a flow state. And a lot of that, it takes some meditation, takes concentration, and obviously I would recommend getting a lot of rest, staying reasonably fit, and as long as you're playing your instrument well, you do it your way. Of course, you need to practice slowly. You need to take time and do that. And it's important that your preparation time, for me, I can't call it practicing, because the word practice is anathema to me. I have to somehow convince myself I'm playing a game when I'm quote unquote practicing. Just saying that word makes me very nervous, because it really activates that critic in me that I formerly needed to silence. And it's very uncomfortable. But growth happens when you're rubbing up against something uncomfortable.